What is up, Doom Patrollers? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today is a good day because we've got another episode of Doom Patrol to break down and review. Now, this is for episode 5, titled Finger Patrol, and we had a whole bunch going on in this episode, especially that ending. Wow, that was definitely something. A Candlemaker means serious business, and Dorothy is playing directly into his hands. But this episode also gave us a bunch of other things that I really love. I really love how Doom Patrol is leaning in even more on Rita and Larry's friendship, but there was some majorly surprising stuff going on with Larry's family and that twist towards the end. Of course, we dove back into Cyborg and his relationship with Ronnie. Cliff stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about in today's episode. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. So as usual, leave me your opinions down in the comment section below. And as always, guys, very quick plug. I do have a Discord server. It's a great community filled with all of you subscribers. So if you're not in there yet, join the rest of the subscribers from the BobaTalks channel, and we can all talk together, whether that's over voice chat, because I get involved in voice chat, but also text chat as well. Also, I do share some exclusive images from the upcoming episodes of Stargirl and Doom Patrol in the server, probably before anyone else has seen it, so make sure you're a member there so you can check some of that stuff out as soon as it comes out. And also, if you're wondering why no face cam today, it turns out that both my camera batteries are dead, so the primary one and the backup one, but no worries, you just get more photos of Doom Patrol, and I don't see anyone complaining about that. So let's get into this, guy. So starting off with Cyborg getting lunch with Ronnie, but that didn't really turn out to be true because it was really just Cliff waking him up. But in the dream, it was quite symbolic of, you know, the emails that she gave to him, exposing her past of mistakes, because this dream consisted of her attacking people. The massive cyborg cannon came out for both of them, and I guess it was just kind of like a worry of Vic's subconscious there, still possibly worrying about her still being like that person she once was in present day. But we'll dive a lot more into the Ronnie and Vic stuff a little bit later on. But there was some other weird stuff coming from the end of last episode in Doom Manor going on, because we had Cliff looking for a videotape confessing all of Niles' horrific stuff. If you guys remember, he was recording him not so long ago. But we also had those sex ghosts in Doom Manor. It looks like the Sex Patrol didn't do their job properly, and we have a few extra residents to stay now in the Doom Manor. So yeah, who knows, we might see some sex ghosts pop up again every now and again. And this next moment between Jane and Niles really basically sprung forward what the rest of this episode would follow, especially obviously with Dorothy and Baby Doll, and that led to that explosive ending. So essentially Baby Doll came out in this moment calling Niles a really bad man and a liar, and essentially she just feels really lonely, so Niles thinks of pairing Baby Doll with Dorothy. Now, I was really looking forward to this just because, you know, well, one thing, Dorothy hasn't really, we can't forget that she hasn't hung out with anyone. I mean, this is her first time out in the world in 90 years, like properly. So having somebody kind of similar around her age, at least mentally or personality-wise, I guess, when it comes to Jane's case, was quite interesting to see how that would play out in the episode. They were complimenting each other's pigtails. Baby Doll loved her room. She was acting very cute, but let's just say it didn't exactly stay that way. As always, though, I love Diane Grower's acting. She really is just absolutely phenomenal in bringing out all of these vastly different personalities, and Baby Doll is quite a performance that requires probably a lot of energy, a very eccentric personality, considering it's like a very happy-go-lucky child that is Baby Doll. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, that Diane Grower was just great in this episode. And as for Rita initially in this episode, she seemed to be at some kind of like garden center, and she was auditioning for this Clover community kind of, I don't know, play that was going on, and she had to audition there right on aisle 3, much to Rita's displeasure. But either way, as she started auditioning, she started reliving the memory that we found out what her mother did to kind of get her roles, and as a result, her audition flopped. As a result of this audition flopping, this led Rita to go hang out with Larry, which set up some amazing stuff for those two this episode. You know, I just, as I said right at the intro, I love how Larry and and Rita having a lot of scenes together this season. Everybody is very happy with their kind of friendship, kind of BFFL kind of thing going on there. I didn't really want to say that, but I had to. But speaking of Rita, Cliff was still looking for that tape, and I was very interested as to what Rita number 84, Battle of the Network Stars was. I mean, I would definitely pay some money to see that. But there was something else in this episode, which I really would pay to actually see, subscription-wise. But I think I'll give you two guesses as to what that could be. But like, it's really not hard to guess. But you guys will know when we get to it in the video. But finally, we get a little bit of payoff as to what Chief was doing with that Robot Man 2.0 designs we saw back after Pain Patrol, I believe it was. My memory may be getting a little bit fuzzy there, but a lot of you are thinking maybe that was actually a backup for Niles. But what I took out of that is after how Red Jack pointed out how, bad it would be to feel like Cliff does in his Robot Man suit, not being able to touch, smell, anything like that. That is when he started kind of breaking down at the end of the episode, really wanting to improve the design. But oh my god, some of those designs were cursed. A spider Robot Man, Doom Patrol, I have no idea, because I wouldn't put it past you guys, the writers. Shoshana Sashi wrote this episode, as well as Chris Dingus, I believe his name is. But yeah, seriously, the spider Robot Man, please do it. It's cursed, but just imagine a little spider creeping along with its legs with Cliff's freaking torso and head above. I think that would make for a hell of an episode. But either way, that is what he wants to give to Cliff, a sensory system. However, he doesn't want to get false hope. To see this to fruition, it could take years, maybe even decades. But as we progress throughout episode 5, Baby Doll and Dorothy are running around trolling. This was the fun side of things before things got very, very messed up later on. They were even putting stickers on Cyborg and Cliff as well. But ladies and gentlemen, this is when Candlemaker appears to Dorothy when Baby Doll suggests to play games like Pirate Ship. Essentially, as you guys know, I've spoke about Candlemaker a lot whenever his voice pops up in the cursed way that it does. And I've spoken about how he's really trying to psychologically manipulate Dorothy. We can't forget that even though Dorothy has lived 103 years or whatever it is, she still has the mind of a child, and she's really open to kind of this manipulation of, Candlemaker's taking the stance of really trying to capitalize on the childish comments to her, and she even says that I'm not an adult, but it still rubs her up the wrong way. Even the very ending scene of episode 4, last episode, he was saying, I'm not going to talk to you, go speak to your little girl friends. And I think it's just all to worm his way in to that point at the very end of this episode, which is kind of perfect. It lies in that moment of where Dorothy will need Candlemaker most. That is where he will strike to take advantage, if you will, and that is exactly what we saw happen. Now at this point, Baby Doll wanted to meet Dorothy's friends inside her head, and this is when Dorothy speaks about the creature. So we got our first context to the creature, guys. A lot of you and even I have wondered about what was the background of this creature, where did it come from, is it what is all of the properties and details regarding it. So this is where Dorothy explains that the creature was the first friend she ever met. It was her mother's friend first, as we all know. So it is the exact same creature that her mother had last season, all of those years ago, many decades ago. And Dorothy's mother said that he knew that Dorothy was in her belly before even she did. Now, when Mum was gone, unfortunately, that was the only details we got about Dorothy's mother, that she's just gone. We don't know if she really is dead or if she just went away. I'm assuming that she passed away or something. It's unclear for now, but either way, he followed Dorothy to the new world to keep her safe, and it was just the two of them for a long time, and his name is Nanny. Now, in this moment, though, Baby Doll just kind of it's kind of hard to make out exactly what happens, because it was like Diane Guerrero's hand interacting with the CGI, but I'm guessing she just kind of pinched Nanny's face or pulled on one of his whiskers or something, and that would hurt. And Dorothy is not happy because Baby Doll wasn't being polite. And this is where things started to go very, very wrong in the episode between those two. So meanwhile, Jane was in the underground while Baby Doll was on the surface, because, obviously, Jane is normally the primary, but if one of the other personalities pops up on the surface, that means Jane can access the underground for some time. And Jane points out, this one was interesting, because she points out that every personality is there because the girl, or Key Chalice, wants that, or needs it in some way. So Baby Doll exists for a reason, even if it is to just run around and spin in circles. But Hammerhead is still concerned because, and we can't forget that this storyline centers around the background of that they want Jane to get away from not only the Doom Patrol but Niles. So this moment kind of revisits that conversation in a way, because Hammerhead is still concerned about Baby Doll interacting with Dorothy because kids fight, and whose side is Dorothy's father going to be on, and can Baby Doll handle that if, you know, shite does go down? And this really does foreshadow what's going to happen in the episode. Also, I love that moment of Niles in the kitchen with Jane. This was such a good scene because it's just knowing exactly what Jane wants in her quote unquote kind of like kitchen sink sandwich. Like Jane really even enjoyed this. I like, we all know she's putting on this kind of front for Niles, very deliberately so. I'm sure it's very easy for her to do because she has been hurt, but she doesn't exactly want that side of her old relationship with him to slip. But in this moment, it kind of did. As I said, Niles knew exactly what she would want in a sandwich, and even she just kind of lets that little smile slip, and it was kind of like that little second or two of that old relationship cracking through, despite what the Chief has done and how Jane is still hurt by that. However, this is when Baby Doll popped out again, and obviously Dorothy wasn't asleep, so she knows that Niles kind of lied to her and Dorothy has been lying, and she kind of figured out that Dorothy doesn't want to hang out with her. But I'll save what happens later towards the very end of this review. But let's continue to talk about things with Cyborg, because he's looking at Ronnie through grid, which is kind of low-key spying on her. It's a bit creepy, but he was there with his puppy dog eyes. I guess he was just kind of trying to sift through everything he's feeling after seeing the emails at the end of last episode where he bailed on her. And this is where Cliff came in asking Vic if he can feel stuff, and of course he can. This is because he has tactile sensors, and he mentioned how Silas, his father, put them in during Victor's first surgery. Now Cliff explains how long it will take if Niles does the kind of thing that he suggested, and how that will take decades and decades. And it was kind of sad in this moment, because I think we all take it for granted when you see a character like Robot Man. It's like, oh yeah, there's Robot Man, Brendan Fraser, he's hilarious, he's funny, but there really is a huge depth to that character, and I know you all know that anyway, but it's easy to forget. And I feel like this moment really highlighted that through Cliff talking about feeling the rain, and how, you know, running his hands through his wife's hair, and what that would feel like. And, you know, as he said himself, given enough time, all of that flows away from you. Just like if you don't have a certain food, or you don't smell it for so long, or if you haven't tasted it in so long, if you taste it many years later almost, it's like tasting it for the first time. So when he tries to remember the sensation of rain on his wrist, or something as simple as that, he genuinely can't remember what that feels like, which would be a terrible, terrible thing to have happen to you. And this is where, you know, Silas comes in. I didn't expect to see Silas. That was a really, really pleasant surprise, because, well, yeah, I didn't expect them to go all the way to Detroit, Michigan, just to ask him if, you know, they could use the cyborg technology, or just have some kind of similar surgery on Cliff, or to at least enhance him a little bit from the ancient technology, as kind of Silas explains it, that Niles uses. And Silas is sorry for what happened to Cliff, but there's a very big difference in what happened to Cyborg and what happened to Cliff. What he did for Cyborg was deemed to for himself as surgery, but what Niles did to Cliff was manslaughter at best, and he doesn't want to be a part of that. And technically he is absolutely correct here. Like, Niles did literally do a criminal thing. I mean, look what he did to Cliff Steele. Then he experimented upon him, made him a robot. That's kind of why when you kind of zoom out of this microscope we're under here, and you look at the broader picture, it really is messed up what Niles Calder did, and how all of these people are still, well, I was about to say they're happy, but they're not all happy, but they're still living under his roof, the Doom Manor roof. So yeah, obviously Silas didn't want to get involved in that, so I kind of felt sorry for Cliff in this moment. But this is where things got very, very hilarious, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about a paid for subscription service that I would definitely pay for. And this is when Cyborg takes Cliff to the area he used to patrol, which is also coincidentally where Ronnie lives. And we got a couple of other funny things in this moment from Cliff, saying there's this unspoken bet between all of the Doom Patrol whether or not Vic has a slong. I always appreciate little funny comments like that from Cliff. And while Cyborg was going off to see Ronnie again, this is where Cliff was kind of daydreaming of the Steel and Stone show which was just absolutely hilarious. Cliff was dressed as a woman in one part, getting like shanked, but that's when Cyborg popped out the trash and they were just beating these. It was basically a parody cop show with Cliff and Cyborg, and I would honestly pay to see this. This wasn't like a little 2-second parody montage reel of this daydream. This was like a solid minute or something of all of these scenes that they went and actually filmed for this moment. It was so funny. We had Chief Niles Calder. I would genuinely love to see a one-off episode of this. I know it probably won't be done, and I know we sometimes get stuff like that in shows, but that was so funny. It really was. It was perfect. As Cliff said himself, steel and stone, getting it done. But going back to Ronnie and Vic, literally Vic said the identical words as to what Cliff told him to say, and it worked wonders. So Cliff should be in the dating game, or at least advising for it. And either way, they get it on, and they talk about the bad choices she once made. This was pretty cool because she got recruited for these quiet missions, as she said. So she literally got given enhancements given to her by Quorum after she suffered this big injury in the army. Now, Quorum is this top secret kind of government agency, if you will, that was all about creating this army of superhumans. These abilities and enhancements did get taken away from Ronnie, but it was quite cool to see that mentioned. But yeah, this scene was particularly really good between Javan Wade and Karen Obolom, I believe Ronnie is played by. Either way, no, seriously, these two have great chemistry. They really, really do. I trust that you guys see this as well. I feel like the story is very, very interesting too. I know some people were saying it's like this completely separate story, and I know that it was presented that way in this season, but I still like what they're doing for Cyborg. The way they've even described it themselves, I have no idea what I'm paraphrasing here. I read so many different things, but it's definitely from somewhere. But Cyborg is the one character that exists outside the Doom Patrol, and even though he's in the show, that gives them very interesting things to play with, because this is the Victor who isn't quite in the Justice League, but is destined for a great career one day. And he's already quite an established superhero, but it's still a character that they can do things like this with. And yeah, I really like what they're doing by giving him this kind of girlfriend, if you will. And I'm looking forward to her coming back and seeing the family, or should I say the other Doom Patrol members. But let's get back to the whole Steel and Stone show. When Cliff kind of woke up from that, this was his time to shine, people. This was him, just like Rita's moment to kind of have her superhero moment. This was Cliff's moment. So I think he kind of underestimates his strength. We can't forget that like Cliff really is, like, despite having this archaic technology that Niles has applied to him, like, when you look at Robot Man and Cyborg side by side, you would say that Cyborg is the more cybernetic one, but Cliff is still very dangerous. But either way, he slams the door shut, and yeah, the finger, just like Finger Patrol, this episode, this is kind of what this moment is named after, I suppose. It gets decapitated. And why does he put it in his pocket? Can anyone tell me why he puts it in his pocket? But ladies and gentlemen, we are towards the end of the episode now. Technically we're not, because the way I'm talking about things, these scenes were scattered throughout the episode. But I have saved Larry until last. Now, oh man, this is where things... I know I'm sounding like I'm making a lot of gibberish noises right now, but I'm just thinking of the surprises I get in Doom Patrol. Like, I should never really be surprised at this point, because... And I'm specifically talking about what happened with Larry, with that twist at the end. I thought this was going to be this sad, reconnecting story with Larry and his family. And it was for up until this episode, but this is where things happen. But either way, Larry made a date to go see his son Paul to help, clean out, obviously Gary, his other dead son's, recently passed son's house. Paul introduces Dex, Larry's grandson, to him, and, his great-grandson, and, even Paul hugs Larry out of nowhere. Like, that was kind of out of nowhere, and a really nice, not surprising, but it was just like a nice, pleasant moment in the episode, and you're happy for Larry, and you're looking forward to seeing where the rest of this episode is going. And wow, did they subvert our expectations. Not in the bad way, but in a very interesting way. So Larry finds that little doll that kind of belonged to his wife, and there was those comments about it being hard for her with all of Gary's conspiracy theories, but we learned that it was actually Cheryl that got Gary into all of that stuff. And that's because, well, if I remember correctly, Cheryl did actually see Larry after he survived the crash. Do you remember when he kind of told her to go away and she was talking to him through that kind of intercom on the door? So I think she was one of the people to know that he did survive, but I assume her, as well as all of Larry's colleagues, like John, got told that he died, I guess, after surviving his wounds. I guess he then later succumbed to them, but really he was taken to the ant farm. By the way, Rita points out that this is an opportunity for him to air his dirty laundry, express love, get to know one each other, have real catharsis, and she even drops that she wished that she could have done that with her mother. Now, yet again, this foreshadows Rita's baggage that we still have very much so to get into this season. For her, I feel, compared to the other storylines, for the other characters, it's being visited every episode almost, but in micro doses, whereas characters like Larry get these full plunges into whatever's going on with them. This got to that moment in the episode where Larry was looking at the items that his colleagues had cleared out from his locker after his accident, and inside was Gary's jet that he made, and I think you guys should all remember that. This was from that flashback scene. We had an item from John there, and this is where he actually tells his son Paul that he was his lover and that he's actually gay. But this is when Paul kind of came out with a little bit of a tangent, and he said, like, when they told us you finally died from your injuries, there were just days where Cheryl would, kind of be sprawled out on the bedroom floor just crying. She tried to move on. Initially I just thought this was like a reflection, but the more it was going on and the more the performance this actor gave, it was like it was full of a bit of resentment coming from Paul, and that's when he says, I realized I didn't survive. No one survives Larry Trainor. And it turns out that he called the Bureau of Normalcy on him. Like, they were going to send him back to the ant farm. He even said, I'm sending you back where you belong. I did not expect this twist. This is so sad. Like, why can't Larry just get some kind of, like, writers? I get why you're doing this, but, like, can't you let Larry have one little semblance of reconnection to his old life? But no, they couldn't let him do it. And I love that moment from Larry. This moment was so cool. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. Negative spirit release. That was so cool. And negative spirit kind of wiped out the bureau kind of guards that were there. And Rita had a really cool moment where she saved Larry's great grandchild with her powers. But Larry's grandson was hit. Dex was hit. Gets called a curse on this family by Larry's son Paul. But it's like, God damn you, Paul! Like, this isn't Larry's fault. This is your fault. You stupid idiot. Like. Really? You got to blame Larry when this was you? Also, just another thing I love. It could be so easily missed, but I love how the negative spirit just like took Rita and Larry and was flying away with both of them. That was a nice way to fade out the scene. So yeah, as a result of this, I just feel extraordinarily sorry for Larry. This was his opportunity to reconnect and heal, but now you could argue he could be a bit more scarred from this. He's going to feel more guilty than ever. We're going to have to see where this goes for Larry, but it certainly was an interesting twist I did not expect. But let's get back to the very, very, very ending of the episode, guys. This is where things took a turn with Baby Doll and Dorothy, in where Baby Doll said that Niles hurts everyone in this house, and that's why everyone hates him. Now, this is where Dorothy was tried to end up scaring Baby Doll and even called her a lying little baby. And this was like a side of Dorothy that we haven't really seen yet. I think she's getting a bit tired of hearing these things about her father. She only really does see this one side of her father. The version of Niles that doesn't want her to believe that he's dying or really has done anything wrong. So she gets trapped in the fire pit. And the Baby Doll actually kills Nanny, or at least according to Candlemaker. In this moment, I thought that when Baby Doll used those little flame powers on Nanny, the creature, I thought, okay, that just kind of like despawns him, so to speak. But apparently he's dead. That's messed up. He's just gone now? As quick as that? Baby Doll, why? And what was I saying earlier, guys? Candlemaker. This is the moment where he strikes. This is what he's been waiting for. Making Dorothy feel like, oh, I don't need you. You just go away. And the one moment she needs him most, that's where he's like, oh, I'm back. Do you need my help, kind of thing? So this is where Baby Doll was trying to apologize, but Dorothy is ready to make that wish. She blows the candle, and this is when we got that cut to the scene of when the train driver of the underground witnesses the Candlemaker arrive. All the personalities are either running or some are trying to protect Kay Chalice from the Candlemaker. I mean, because everyone's job is to defend Kay Chalice. I can't remember the name of the personality who bursts into flames, but is she dead now? Because she was just disregarded, burnt on the floor. And then Baby Doll. Baby Doll is dead. This is a character that has been around for decades and decades and decades, like for Niles. So this is going to have some repercussions, I assume, in the next episode. Like, well, obviously, just overall, but it's going to be interesting to see how Niles reacts to actual character death, like Baby Doll and stuff. By the way, you know, Candlemaker didn't want to kill the entire underground because as soon as Baby Doll died, Candlemaker was like, all right, I'm out. You know, as soon as that was done, he was fine. So this is actually pretty messed up. Dorothy does kind of know better almost, but I guess that she doesn't quite know what the wishes will fulfill. And I don't want to give that away to you guys either, but after a certain amount of wishes, I won't say how many, a certain thing may or may not happen, and that will be very, very bad. So I'm very much so looking forward to seeing where this goes. This is going to have very bad repercussions. The underground is going to be pretty scarred and shaken after this event with the Candlemaker. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic end to the episode, and it actually had some really big stakes, obviously with characters dying because of the Candlemaker, and it just makes me think of what is still yet to come with this character. Like, you know, we've still got some explosive, I can only imagine what they're going to do. If this is bad, what they're going to still do. I would love to know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. What did you guys think of that ending? What do you think this means for the following episodes to come now that Dorothy has given in to yet another wish? Will Niles find out? I'm pretty sure he will one way or the other, whether that's Jane who says it or something. So if you like this video, everyone, I would really appreciate your support on the channel by leaving a like on it. I know everyone probably asks you to do that, but it only takes 2 seconds of your time. Shows your support, helps the video out a bunch. If you could share it as well, that would mean the world to me. Other places you can find me is on Twitter, and all the links to that good stuff, such as my server invite for Discord, is in the video description down below, such as Patreon as well, where you can support the channel even further, above and beyond. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Doom Patrollers in the next video. Goodbye.